Yes guys, welcome back to the Fun Bikes YouTube channel. I'm Fit and today I'm going to be showing you the build and assembly process for N2R KXF 125. So it can go from looking like this to this. Let's get this thing out of the crate. So guys, now I've got your bike and the box and the cage and onto the stand. You're going to see you've come with a lot of parts. I'm now going to run you through what they're for and when you're going to need them. To start them off, in this box you'll receive a pair of forks, your front wood guard, rear shock, your front wheel, and in this bag you'll receive a few more parts that I will now bring you through in more detail. But inside the bag we will also see there is a second bag. This has got mainly your parts and this has got more accessories. Starting this one, and here you'll have your front rubber board, your bar pad cover, your manual for the bike. I highly recommend you read through this as it shows you how to keep and maintain your bike to its optimal performance level. You'll receive your fuel cap, and moving on to your more partsy bag, in here you'll receive your kickstand with a bolt in the top, your front axle with 2 spacers on, or gear shifter. You'll receive your foot peg. Sometimes this will already not be attached to the bike, so in this video I will also show you how to assemble this, because sometimes it will be assembled, sometimes they won't. I'll make sure you know how to do this. I'll have your spring for the kickstand, and finally you've got 2 bolts for your handlebars. But now I've explained all the parts, we can now start cracking on with this assembly. So guys, the tools you'll need for this assembly are going to be a long flathead screwdriver, a crosshead screwdriver, a 13mm spanner, 14mm spanner, 17mm spanner, a 19mm spanner, a pair of wire cutters, a 5mm Allen key, a 6mm Allen key, 8mm socket, a 10mm socket, 12mm socket, 13mm socket, a small extension bar, a long extension bar, a ratchet. And to get the bike started, you'll need some fuel and a foot on. So guys, the first step of assembly I'm going to be showing you how to do is going to be your handlebars. So starting off, you're going to want to grab your brake and just unravel this like so, and then you can carefully lift out your handlebars. Your wire does get caught on this bit of plastic sometimes, so just be careful. Like so. So now we want to make sure our handlebars are the right way. It should look like this with the wires in front. So now you can get the wire in here. And the way to know is the wires coming from this side of the handlebars go through the opposite side of the forks. So if you can see this side through here, this side through here. So now we can lift them up and they can just sit there for now. So now what we're going to grab, we're going to grab your 2 bolts from earlier with the spring washer on them, one on each. Now you can slot the bottom of these into these gaps here, like so, and then you can just get these finger tight for now. Tools there finger tight, you can see it's not going anywhere. The tools you need would be a ratchet, a long extension, and a 13mm socket. So now you want to go through the bottom here. I like going to the bottom, it just gives you an easier angle. You try and make sure these are nice and tight. There's one tight. There we go. And once they're tight while we're down here, this wire here coming from the kill switch will slide through the zip tie, and as you can see the plug for it is just here. So you just want to plug that in. Like so. There we are. So once you've done that, so you want to come to the top, and I like to just give the handlebars a nice push, and as you can see they're not moving anywhere. So that's that installed. We can now move on to the next part. So guys, moving on to the next part of your assembly, we're going to be doing your rear shock. For this you're going to need a ratchet with a 12mm socket and a 13 and a 14mm spanner. We'll also obviously need your rear shock. Firstly, if you want to come under the seat, there should be a bolt under here. You just want to screw that off. There'll be a washer with this. I just want to put that to one side for now. So now, take your seat off. so. And again, put that to one side. And now you want to grab rear cock out of the bag. So this will be at the top, facing like this. That will be what it looks like. So you want to take this bolt out of the top. Now we can go under the bottom, and this bit can be quite fiddly. What I like to do is go through this gap and push the bolt through, like so. Well, you can get the nut on the other side. Well, now grab your 13 and 14 off button, and the 14 will be on the nut side, the 13 will be on this side. So just want to make sure that's nice and tight, or as tight as you can get it. So once that's nice and tight, you can then come to the bottom, take this bolt out. Now again, we're going to have to line this hole up with these holes, and for this, I like to cut my foot under the wheel, just to give it a bit of elevation, and then you can just adjust the height with your foot. It makes it a bit easier to line up, like that. Again, not on the other side, and make sure these are nice and tight. So now you've got that installed, we can now come back to the top, grab your seat, and if you see here, there's a little slot. This will sit under this bolt here, so you just want to get that under, like that, like so. Then grab the bolt and your washer from earlier, screw that back on. So now once you've got the bolt back on, you want to grab your ratchet with the 12mm, and just make sure this is nice and tight, like so. You did that, the rear shock is all installed, but now move on to the front end. We can do your forks next. So guys, now we can move on to your forks. So you'll need a 5mm for the forks, and a pair of wire cutters, knife, scissors, just to get the box open. So we're going to open up this box. So here you can grab a fork out, it doesn't matter which one at the moment. Once you take the bagging off. So as you can see here, there's nothing else on this, just the whole set axles. We know this is for the right side. So first thing I like to do to make sure I don't put the brake line in the forks, just put that over the side. So grab your 5mm on your fork, and this screw on top here, you'll make sure that I want to face forward. So you want to slide your fork up, and as you can see, sometimes it doesn't quite fit, so all you've got to do is just give this a tap at full lock and it will adjust it. So you keep sliding it up, and what I like to do is just have a bit of gold showing, and then you can make sure this is nice and tight. You'll be able to see a bit clearer on this side when I show you how to do that, but there is 4 bolts to tighten. So once that one's tight, just then grab your other fork, and as you can see on this fork, it's got 2 holes here, and it's got all this. This you know is for the left side, because this is for the brake caliper, and this will be for the brake line. So again, but this time you want to make sure your wires stay inside. You don't want them to be out and put them in, one on the inside. So slide it up. You want to try and get the same amount of gap on this side as the other side, obviously ensuring the screws at the front. And again, I want to make sure these are as tight as possible. So now you've got all of these bolts tight for your forks, we can now move on to the next part of the assembly. So guys, moving on to the next part of the assembly, we're going to be installing your front mud guard. So for this, obviously, you'll need your front mud guard, a ratchet with a short extension with an 8mm socket. So if you look up here, you'll see 3 bolts. Just want to take these out. So now you've got all 3 of these bolts taken out. You want to grab your long one, as you can see, different sizes to the other 2. So on your mud guard, you'll see you've got quite a few holes. You want these 3 back ones, so they're smaller holes, and these will line up with the back holes up here, the fat one here, that one there, and back one there. So you want to put this through the hole, and you want to just line it up, and once you've got it in the hole, you can just get it finger tight. That should hold it. And now you can grab your other 2 bolts and do the exact same. Just line it up and get them finger tight. So once they're all in finger tight, you can again grab your ratchet, and you'll make sure these are tight. Once they're nice and tight, we can now move on to the next part of your assembly. So guys, moving on to the next part of your assembly stage, we're going to be doing your number board. So for this, you're going to need the exact same tool you use on the last step, so your ratchet, extension, and a nail. You obviously need your number board. So, we move to the front of the bike. I'm going to take these screws out here. Hopefully they're fingerless. Take the clamp off as well. Same with this side, hopefully that one's tight. So now what you want to do, I'm going to grab your number board, and you want to slot these on and line up the holes like so. Now these two holes at the bottom here, we've got on top of these two here. And what you want to do is you want to push them underneath the little bracket. Now this bit can be quite fiddly, but you've got to line up the holes while these are moving. Which isn't the easiest job in the world. Like so. But once you get one in, it makes it a lot easier. So once you're lined up, just get one finger tight, hold it in place. So if you do drop it, it's then a bit easier to get the other one on. Like so. So once they're in, finger tight, and then grab your ratchet and just tighten these up. Like so. And with that, the number board is nice and secure, and we can now move on to the next step of your assembly process. So guys, moving on to your next part of the assembly, we're going to be doing your front wheel, front brake, and front brake line. So first thing you're going to want to do, you're going to want to make sure you put the brake line back over. Else it'll be annoying when you forget later and you've got to go back. So now we'll move down here. You'll need your front wheel, your front axle with the two spacers on. You'll need a long flathead screwdriver, a 19mm spanner, a 17mm spanner, a 10mm socket, and a ratchet. So first thing we're going to want to do, so you want to grab your front axle, and as you can see there's two spaces on here. This one's significantly smaller than this one, so you can't really miss it. So you want to take these off, and you want to keep the small one in your hand with the axle. You want to slide that through just enough for this to sit nicely. Then you can grab your wheel. You want to make sure your brake sits on the right side. And also slide this through. And line it up, push the axle through. And when it gets to about there, you stop. You can grab your bigger spacer and slide down, and then line it up and push it all the way through. So now you can put the nut on this side, then you can grab your 19 and 17mm spanner. This will be a 19 on this side, and the other side will be 17. So now you just want to make sure this is as tight as possible. Like that. So now you've got your front wheel on nice and tight. You now grab your brake. Just pull this bubble wrap off, like so. And here you've got two 10mm. Just want to take them out. Yeah, make sure you don't lose your washer or your spacer. Like so. Also on the brake here, you'll have a little separator, but if you can't get this out, I forgot to mention, you'll need to come to the top and you'll want a pair of snips or wire cutters, scissors. And the reason why you won't be able to get that out, because pulling your front brake. So I'll cut all this off. Now allow it to come out now. Let's come back to the bottom. Slide out nice and easily now. And as you can see here, now you're going to be able to fit a disc in between there. It's quite thick. So what you need a flathead screwdriver, and what you want to do is you want to put it in the end like so, and gently push down. This will just push the pistons back in enough to get onto the disc. Again with this side, well, that should be actually wide enough now, like so. And now we've made more room, we can get on the disc a lot easier. So now that should slide straight onto the disc, no issues. So now you can grab the bolt. You want to put one washer onto the bolt, and you'll also need one spacer. So put your bolt through, but you don't want it to be coming out the other end, so you literally just want it inside this back space here. So then you put your spacer in this gap, like that. Then you can push the bolt through, and then line it up with the hole on the caliper carrier. Just give it a few turns so it holds thread, and then we can do the same with the bottom one. So obviously keep the washer on the bolt, slide it through just a bit, and then for this one, what I do is I put my finger underneath where the bolt will go through, and I'll drop the spacer in, and this just allows it a bit easier to line up the bolt. As soon as that lined up, push it through, and again, screw that in a bit. Means now we can grab our ratchet and 10mm, make sure these are nice and tight. So, once airtight, we can now give it a wiggle. See, it's not going anywhere, it's nice and tight. So now, we're going to be sorting out this brake line. As you can see, you don't want it flopping around like this. So the first thing we're going to do is you're going to grab a flathead screwdriver. We'll also need a crosshead screwdriver. So we're going to come back down here, and as you can see here, we've got these two rubber covers. These will sit in these two gaps here. So what I do is I go for the top one first. You get it near it, like so. Get your screwdriver in, pry it back. That should pop in there nicely, like so. So now we can get the bottom one in, and because we've got the top one in, a bit easier to get the bottom one in. So again, pry it open. If you need a bit more brake line, just pull it down, it gives it a bit more leeway. And then you can just push it in, like so, like that. So now you can see that's in there nice and sturdily. So now grab your crosshead. What you want to do, take this right side out fully, and then if you just put it in the left one, it will spin with it. So then if you do a few turns, push the brake line in, it should spin perfectly around, like so. So then you can put this right one back in, make sure it's tight, and same with the left one, like so. So now that's on. What we're going to do is move up this bit, take this left one out, lift this up a bit, push the brake line through, we can get this screw back in. Once you've got that nice and tight, you've now done your front wheel, your front brake, and all your brake line. So guys, moving on with your assembly process, we're now going to be installing your kickstand. So the first thing we're going to want to do is at the back of this little area, there'll be a little metal bar sticking out of the back. But you want to make sure, if it is on a stand, that this is not on the stand, or it should be slightly coming off, just to twist some space, like so. So now, you're going to want the kickstand, your spring. We'll also need the flathead screwdriver and a 17mm spanner. So you're going to want to take the bolt and washer out of the kickstand, and that will just slide on there like so, and the bolt should go in nicely. This should go most of the way with your fingers until you get there, and then you just want some quick tighten up with the 17mm spanner. You don't want it to be too tight, it's going to be stiff when you're putting it up and down. So now, with your spring, this little metal bit will hook onto here. And what you want to do is you want to get your screwdriver, put it in this metal bit, and then over this little metal bump, and just like that, you could just pull and lift up. So in a motion, you want to pull the screwdriver up and lift the kickstand up as well, and it will click straight on. So with that, let's get on to the next part. So the next part of the assembly is going to be your gear selector. So for this, you're going to need your gear selector and a 5mm Allen key. So first thing, you're going to want to take this bolt out. So now this is all about personal preference. Obviously you can have it as low as you want, as high as you want, but normally I kind of go in level with the foot peg. So about there. So now, once you're happy, you want to put the bolt back in, get it as tight as you can with your fingers. Now you grab your 5mm Allen key. You want to make sure this is nice and tight, like so. As you can see, there's not any play in that. That is nice and installed. So guys, this step is for if any of you have received your bike without a foot peg on. If they do have them on, you can skip this step, but this is just in case you didn't. So, in the bag with your foot peg, you will receive your foot peg return spring, the pin, a spacer and a split pin. So first off, what we'll need the return spring and the foot peg, and this will sit on like that. So the hooked edge, this bit will sit on this part, like so. So now this hook is going to hook on the left side here. So you just want to push on there. So now you want to grab your pin, and from this end here, if you look, you can see I'm trying to line up the hole from the foot peg. But once that's lined up, you just want to push the split pin through. Now you want to look for the bottom, and you can line that up normally. Oh, sorry. So now you can grab your spacer, slap that on the bottom, and you can put your split pin through the hole. Like so. And bend the split pin round, and with that, the foot peg is all installed. So guys, and with that, you're almost done with your build assembly process. But to put the cherry on the cake, we're going to put your final two things on. So you're going to grab your fuel cap, nice and simple. Just going to screw that on, like so, and then this part, the breather part, just slots in there nicely. And now, just grab the ball pack cover. And you can have this either way. You can either have the KXF 125 facing away, or you can have it towards you, completely up to you. First, gonna wrap this around the bar pad, like so. And with that, we are almost done. We just need to do the lever angles, a few more bits, and then you'll be ready. So guys, now we're gonna do your lever angles. So for this, we're gonna need a ratchet with an 8mm, or you can use a spanner. I'm gonna use a ratchet. So for this, you can see the two bolts on the back here. You try to loosen them off, and then what I like to do is, normally I would sit on the bike to get the nicest angle, but you can just stand behind it. But ideally, you want the lever angles, if you put your arms straight like this, for example, you want it to be a flat arm like that. So about this angle, you tighten it. You might want to hold it still because it can move. You want to do the same with this side. So loosen them off, do it with your hands, and then step back, see if they're the same angle, and if they're not, you can adjust it. And once you're happy, you can tighten them on. Again, this is all about personal preference. You can have it at whatever angle you want, but this is how we like to do it here. So with that, your lever angles are now done. Now there's only a few more steps, or you can ride this bad boy. So guys, now for the most satisfying part of this build, is we're going to be peeling all the stickers off and all the plastic wrap. And let's get to peeling. So guys, now I've got the stickers off, you can see how fresh this bike really is. This is my personal favourite colour of this bike. There is a few, but this one, I have to say, takes my picking. I love it, that's beautiful. But before you do take this thing for a ride, there's one more thing you do need to do, and that's going to be a full nut and bolt check. So now I'm going to run you through all the bolts on the bike that you need to check. So let's start at the back. So obviously you're going to want to check your rear axle, you want to check your brake bolt, you want to check your rear spring on bolts, you want to check all your engine casing bolts scattered around, you want to check this bolt here. There's two there actually, sorry, there's two bolts here. You want to check these bolts for your heat shield. You want to check all the exhaust bolts from here all the way around to here. You want to check these two bolts on top of here. You want to check the four bolts. Again, obviously I know we did them, but you can check the screws here. And again, check your front axle. You also want to check your plastic bolts here, and here. So moving on to the other side of the bike, starting from the back, I want to check these bolts here to your sprocket. There's also a few bolts here for your chain cover. You can check the kickstand again, it won't harm anything. Check your engine casing bolts around here again. You've got another two of these bolts under here next to the filter. You want to make sure that the filter's tight. There is a screw on the back here. You want to check these bolts here for the engine again. These bolts here for your carbs. You want to check the plastic bolts. Again, if you to the front, again check all 4 bolts. And it won't harm me if you check front brake bolts again. So guys, just make sure you check every single bar on the bike, make sure it's nice and tight, and once that's done, you can now take this thing for a ride. So guys, now I'm going to show you how to start the vehicle and obviously get it running. So first of all, I'm going to take out the breather pipe, take off the fuel cap. You'll need a funnel and obviously some fuel. Ideally, you can use E5, but if you have E10, it will work as well, but they run better on E5. So put the funnel in, and you want to carefully get some fuel in there, so you don't want to spill any and mess up these stickers. Yeah. Be careful to take this out. Don't want to drip anything. Now put the fuel cap back on. So now you've got your bike off the stand. We'll come down into the carb, and as you can see here, you've got your fuel tap. It will most likely be on the off position. You just want to turn it right to on, and as you can see, fuel is getting fuel. And this black lever here, this is your choke, so you're going to push that all the way up. That's start it. Also, you're going to make sure it's in neutral. Call the kickstand out. Just give it a kick. When you've left him running for a little bit, you push down your choke and it'll be idling from there on. So guys, that's it. You've successfully finished your KXF 125 build. If you do have any questions about this assembly, please feel free to leave them in the comments and I'll reply to them as quick as I can. And before you take this thing for a ride, please ensure you do have your protective equipment. For example, your helmet, gloves, body armor, suits, etc. You can get it from the link in the bio or in the description. And that's it. I'll see you in the next one.